Let's acknowledge that practicing flute can sometimes be a tense and frustrating experience. However, the solution may not always be to just relax. In this video, I'm going to be giving you some tips on how to manage tension in your flute practice, so let's get to it. Hi, I'm Lance. I'm a professional flutist and teacher, and my goal is to inform and inspire your flute practice. In this video, we're talking about body tension and how it relates to your flute playing. To start with, let's first talk about the difference between tension and engagement. The reason that fully relaxing doesn't work is because there's a minimum amount of engagement required to create a sound on the flute. We're not having a spa day here, but are mindfully working to create a projective and resonant sound, and that takes a little bit of physical exertion. To demonstrate the difference between tension and engagement, go ahead and make a fist with one of your hands. Notice that I didn't ask you to clench the fist, but if you clenched, don't worry, that's a natural response to the prompt. In flute playing, we're constantly asked to make different shapes with our lips, our fingers, our hands, our arms. To make these shapes is engagement. To clench the shape is tension, which we can also call over-engagement. Go ahead and make the fist again, and this time I'm going to ask you to intentionally clench. But when you do so, pay attention to the rest of your body. Is there any other part that tenses up as well when your hand is clenched? Maybe it could be the neck, the throat. It could even be the core or the shoulders. This shows you that tension can't just live in one part of the body. If one part of the body is tense, that tension can travel easily to other parts of the body and affect performance there. In my opinion, there are 3 zones of engagement that go into creating a beautiful and resonant sound on the flute: your lips, your throat, and your core. Don't get me wrong, there are a lot of other parts of the body that contribute to your sound in a big way, and these can include the shape inside your mouth, the position of the tongue and jaw, as well as the angle of the instrument. However, developing a good balance of engagement between lips, throat, and core is an excellent starting point for thinking about how tension and engagement affect sound production. Getting back to the title of this video, Don't Just Relax, the solution to excess tension is not to fully relax, but rather to balance a healthy and neutral engagement across the body. It's possible that you could be totally under-engaging in general, and if so, the sound may come across as weak, non-projective, and sometimes flat in pitch. However, most often, one or two of the zones is over-engaging, while the others are under-engaging. Learning how to balance these zones will make you a more efficient and effective player. Like we established before, there's a minimum amount of engagement required to create a sound on the flute. If one of your zones is underperforming, it means that others are going to have to overwork to make up for that deficit. I'm now going to demonstrate over-engaged lips. You might notice that the sound becomes a bit raspy and airy, and if you encounter this in your practice, your reflex might be to put more effort into the lips to try and focus the sound. However, in doing so, you may be actually contributing to the problem even more. So how do you properly engage the lips? Start by remembering the fist exercise. Throughout your flute playing, you'll be asked to make many different shapes with your lips. For example, condensing the aperture in the upper octaves. As much as possible, work to make these shapes without clenching. It's possible to make a very petite aperture without clenching simply by bringing the lips closer together. If you're having trouble with this concept, think about the air guiding the lips rather than the other way around. Your lips should be strong and purposeful while still maintaining a suppleness. This gives a beautiful complexity to the sound. Use the shape of your embouchure hole as a guide. making sure that your aperture is not substantially wider or more narrow than this opening. Just as the embouchure hole is rounded, visualize creating a beautiful round shape with your lips, and then back it up with the right amount of air, which can vary by register and the size of your aperture. All of this translates into a beautiful, round, and focused tone. There are two main ways that the throat can be overengaged. First, by overcompressing. Second, by over-opening. If your throat is overcompressing as you play, you're probably underengaging your lips, your core, or both. If you're forcing your throat open as you play, this is going to cause your lips and core to have to work harder to make up for that air pressure. Instead, lightly open your throat as you breathe in without forcing it open. Be mindful of the back of your tongue, which can act as a stopper against the throat if it's pushed too far back. Instead, keep a nice distance between the back of the tongue and the throat for easy passage of air in both directions. If you feel your throat overcompressing as you play, experiment with different ways of engaging your lips and your core to see if this allows your throat to disengage to a more neutral position. Many of our teachers have told us, support, 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 which generally refers to core engagement. However, is more support always better? I'm now going to demonstrate maximum core engagement. This feels like I have a knot in my stomach and is honestly rather uncomfortable to play through. When my core is overengaged, I find it very difficult to breathe. Also, the tension in my core travels and translates into tension in my throat and neck. If your core is engaged at maximum 100% of the time, you may be hindering your own breathing. You could also be depriving yourself of an opportunity to add emphasis to your playing since the core is already up against a wall. Engaging the core has the effect of pushing up against the lungs from the bottom, helping to push out the air. In order to take a good breath, it's important to release that core. This allows your insides to drop a little bit, giving the lungs room to fully expand. This happens in reverse for the exhale, with your core gradually compressing to lift the insides and push the air out of the lungs. And then they release again for the inhale. If you feel like your core is in a constant knot when you play, ask yourself if you're over-opening your throat and experiment with creating a more refined shape in the aperture to see if this allows your core to release just a little bit. The next time you practice, pay close attention to your body and think about the 3 zones of engagement: your lips, your throat, and your core. Playing a healthy mezzo forte, rate each zone on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being totally relaxed and 10 being maximum engagement. If everything is rated under a 5, you may need to add a little more engagement for a full and resonant sound. If certain zones are close to 10 and others are under 5, work to balance across all those zones at around a 5 to a 6. As you're doing this work, don't forget that tension doesn't live in just one part of the body. Be mindful of clenching and squeezing in your fingers, shoulders, chest, and rib cage, and don't forget to keep that air moving. Well, that's it for today, and I hope you've enjoyed this video and gotten some value out of it. If so, please let me know in the comments and by giving it a like. Also, for more informational and inspirational flute content like this, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and don't forget to hit that notification bell as well. Thanks for watching.